Good evening. Beverly Marshall here, along with my grandson Zaire Tate. We talked last Tuesday, and I told you that I will continue on the following Tuesday, which is today, and he had his first adult GI doctor appointment. But first, I want to go back to the reason why this all started is because of the discontinuation of his milk, the Nutrient 1.0. So after all of the discussion of going through prompt care and the problems I was having with them, with a certain individual with prompt care, we decided, I didn't decide, but the nutritionist at the doctor's office and along with prompt care, for him to try Kate Farm formula. So the doctor sent in a prescription and it was ordered, and Zaire started taking Kate Farms formula on the 6th, which I believe was on the Tuesday. It was fine. We started 4 o'clock that morning for his first feed. It was fine. Then his second feed was at 10 o'clock. That was okay. But the third feed, he started moaning, and he was releasing a lot of gas. So we just let that slide also, because we said his body is getting adjusted to this new milk. So the following day, it was the same thing. He was waking up during the night moaning, and then he had diarrhea really bad. So I said, okay, it's the change in the milk, but the letting out the gas, it started smelling really bad, and he kept with the diarrhea. So what we did is I stopped it Sunday night. So his first feed Monday morning, which was at 4 a.m., I gave him, I had a few bottles of Pediasure, and I also had Ensure. So I gave him a bottle of the Pediasure, which is 8 ounces, 237 ml.
Wow.
It was okay. Then that afternoon, it was the same thing. So now, this morning, that's when he had his doctor's appointment with the GI doctor. That's where the big problem came in at. It was, he's always had a peds doctor. So this is an adult doctor, which was not familiar with his type of GG. He was not familiar with a special needs child, because he said that no one made them aware of the patient's condition. So we talked for a while, then he left. He said he wanted to talk to his team. He came back with another doctor. So I was told that the doctors that were there, that department was a teaching department with GI doctors, and that they were there for a short period of time, and then they'll be going somewhere else. So that means that if Zaire was there, he would be seeing a different doctor every time he came. That was the first kicker. The second kicker was they had no nutritionist. So I couldn't get a prescription for a new formula or his medication, because they were not familiar with Zaire's medical problems. So they gave me a list of nutritionists in other cities besides New Brunswick, and I also had a list of other GI doctors that was nowhere in the area where I could take Zaire. So they told me that they would contact his pediatrician, which was that he had before. He stopped going there when he turned 25. So I said, okay. There wasn't anything else for me to do, so they told me to sit outside till they figure out what to do, and then they would give me information on another GI doctor. So while I was sitting outside in the waiting room, I called his past GI doctor. I didn't get an answer, so I called another number, which was his pulmonologist, and I asked them if they could go and give a message to Dr. Conieris, which the nurse did. But then I was told that they couldn't change his G-tube because he was no longer the doctor's patient. So he would have to keep that G-tube, and if anything happened, then I would have to take him to the emergency room. Now this is where the problem comes in at. When a child turns 21, they can see a pediatrician until they're 21. Then they have to see an adult doctor. Thank God that they did keep Zaire until he was 25. But that gray area is no one give you any type of preparation for this transition. Plus, there's no list of doctors that are familiar with special needs children that has a G-tube. And even if they didn't have a G-tube, even if they had a trichotomy, it's like, if these doctors don't have that experience, what are we supposed to do? We can't keep taking our child to the emergency room. We need doctors that are adult doctors that are also familiar with special needs children with special medical problems. Now, right now, I'm here. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I did send his doctor an email letting him know what was going on and that I needed help. And I haven't heard from him yet, but I'm sure that he will be contacting me. But the problem is, when a child turns 21 and they no longer can see a pediatrician, how can we transition the child to another doctor in that field that has the experience of helping and assisting a special needs child? Now, I will continue this tomorrow because I'm waiting for his doctor to call and to see what I can find out. He does have to have this G-tube changed, but with spending those 2 hours at the doctor's office today and nothing was accomplished, just to tell me that they're not familiar with Zaire's medical problems and no one notified them before he got there or to let them know of his medical problems. The two of us, we was just left standing. It was like hello and goodbye. And I was telling him that all of his doctors he's had since he was a baby, and he's 26 now. And the transition for him from seeing the same doctors for all of these years and then to see other doctors that are, I just have to say it, there's no way I can change it, they're cold. They don't even act friendly, when it comes to a special needs child. I will continue this tomorrow after I get a phone call from his main doctor. But what I want to leave you with is Maya Angelou. It's something that she wrote years ago. And I will be repeating this each night after I talk to you. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Thank you and good night.